The story begins as we see a masked man fights several monsters, but he says it's not enough. He demonstrates exceptional strength, but is unsatisfied and wants more. We cut to a man in a carriage running away from goblins, but luckily for him, a group of warriors appears and is able to deal with the goblins. After their victory, they return to the town, passing by a hungry Fate who is standing guard at the castle. He notices them, but is disappointed. He can never be like them because he is constantly hungry due to his useless skill gluttony. The crowd is amazed as a group of holy knights pass through the town. They are the trio of the Valeric siblings, but we see they are terrible people. One of them kicks away a peasant in their way as they make their way towards the castle. At the gate, the eldest, Raphael, gives Fate his pay by throwing it on the ground. As he tries to pick it up, Hanno steps on his hand. However, his stomach growls at that moment and Raphael calls him disgusting. The siblings get mad at the growling, thinking it makes it seem like they don't pay him enough. They start beating him up, but he is saved by another holy knight named Roxy, who reminds the siblings of their duty as holy knights to be kind to the citizens they have sworn to protect. The siblings decide to leave, and Roxy helps Fate up. She consoles him by telling him that guarding the gate is honorable, and they are both equal in their job. Roxy takes over guarding the gate and asks him to tell her if something like this happens again, but Fate says that he is used to it, and he decides to leave. We learn that Fate wants to protect Roxy by keeping a distance and doesn't want to get her involved, fearing that Raphael will hurt her too. Fate is encouraged by the bartender to stand up for himself, or he could end up dead like the last guy. On his way home, Fate curses his gluttony skill for still being hungry even though he had a meal. He wishes he could have been born with a more useful skill and despairs that he can't do anything else because he can't change how things are. Fate notices thieves jumping over the castle wall, so he hurries over to Roxy to tell her the situation, and she leaves him to take over her position as she runs off to find the thieves. As he waits for Roxy to finish beating up the thieves, one of them runs toward him. His instincts tell him to run, but the thought of Roxy trusting him with her position helps him muster the courage to stay. He prepares himself to fight and notices that the thief is already injured. He gathers his courage and jumps toward the man, piercing him through his chest. Suddenly, he hears a voice telling him that his gluttony skill has been activated and his stats have been increased. Fate is confused, and the voice further tells him that the skills Identify and Telepathy have been added for him. At the same time, Roxy returns from her fight and is concerned for him. However, Fate notices something strange because he heard words coming from her, but her mouth didn't move. He reassures her and tells her that she can take credit for his kill because it would cause problems for him if Raphael found out. In return, Roxy offers him a job to work for her family. Fate considers his options and eventually agrees to work for her family. Later that night, Fate notices that all his stats are in the triple digits, and he then realizes that he must have been using telepathy on Roxy earlier. He is still confused about what is going on, but is now confident he can defeat monsters with his improved stats. The following day, Fate goes out to look for a sword. When the merchant finds out he is poor, he tells him he can only afford the trash swords in the barrel. Fate looks through the swords using his new Identify skill and learns that all the swords are useless except one. When Fate examines that sword, he is shocked when it suddenly speaks to him, introducing itself as Greed and telling Fate to buy him. Upon learning that Greed is knowledgeable about gluttony, Fate decides to buy it. We see the Valeric siblings talk about Roxy trying to hire Fate without informing them first. Raphael feels there is no need to complicate things between them and the Hartz family because they are both part of the 5 great families that support the kingdom. While noting Fate as being worthless, Raphael heads toward the military district, and his sister wonders what he's going to study. He tells her his plan to learn how to become immortal. Later on, we see Fate walking with Greed in his hand, and it warns him of something fast approaching. A goblin appears out of nowhere, but Fate is easily able to kill it, which activates his gluttony skill, increasing his stats once again. The skill strength boost is given to him. Swarms of goblins appear out of nowhere, but Fate remains calm as he cuts them down. After each kill, his gluttony skill is activated, and he ends up killing hundreds. When it's all over, he checks his stats and is surprised by how much they have increased. Greed points out that Fate must be full, and Fate notices that his stomach hasn't growled at all that day, which has never happened before. Greed says that normally each person has only the skill they are born with, but thanks to gluttony, Fate can steal the stats and skills of others. However, it's not something that other people can know about. Fate realizes that he must always fight alone, but Greed reassures him, saying he is not alone since he is with him. Fate takes all the goblin ears to get paid and wanders about all the things he can buy as they enter the town, but is reminded by Greed of his maintenance coming first. At that moment, they suddenly run into a man and a young girl who we see asking for help. Fate uses his skill, Identify, to assess the man's threat level and finds that he has the skill to hide stats. Fate is suspicious, but says that they can't just ignore a girl's cry for help. They follow the man, and he tells the girl that she'll be sold as a slave to the Holy Knights. Greed warns Fate that the man is tough, so it's his last chance to run away. However, Fate says he has finally gained the power he always wanted, and he will use it to protect the weak. Meanwhile, we see an old nun speaking to a bunch of orphans, telling them about Holy Laplace, the creator of the world, who gifted people special powers known as skills when she left the world. She reveals that there was a time when there were no skills and everything was peaceful. A nun barges into the room, saying she can't find a missing orphan. She leaves to continue her search, and the other nun wonders where the girl named Sahara has gone. As Fate and Greed encounter the man and the kidnapped girl, Sahara, Fate takes this chance to save her. He rescues the girl, but the kidnapper appears behind him. The kidnapper calls him foolish, telling him that he has no chance of beating him. He wants to take the girl to safety, but is unsure of what to do. Greed advises him to step back, take advantage of the kidnapper's overconfidence, and wait for the right moment to attack. Fate tries to flee with Zahara, but they eventually reach a dead end. Fate launches a surprise attack, and as the man prepares to use his skill, Greed instructs Fate to strike him head on. Fate charges at the man, delivering a decisive blow. Fate orders the man to tell him everything, but he refuses. Fate proceeds to torture him, and he eventually reveals that he was ordered by Hato to kidnap Sahara. Fate takes Sahara to get some food after hearing her stomach growl, and he takes her back to the orphanage. He is surprised to hear Sahara's gratitude because it's the first time someone thanked him. Fate approaches Sahara and gives her advice, the same words his father had told him in the past, but he had been unable to understand until now. No matter how hard things get, if you can laugh them off, one day you will find happiness. On the way back, Greed congratulates Fate on learning his first technical skill, the one-handed sword technique, a secret technique that allows him to attack twice in a single strike. Fate thinks he got lucky against the kidnapper and is determined to get stronger so that he can win without relying on luck. The following day, Fate arrives at the Hart family estate, where Roxy greets him at the gate. He is taken aback by her appearance. She takes him to the grave of her recently deceased father, revealing that he was killed 5 days ago in Gallia, a continent dominated by monsters. Roxy explains that it's the duty of Holy Knights to keep monsters in check on the continent of Gallia. This duty fell to the Hart family this year, but unfortunately, a divine dragon emerged from a 1,000-year solitude, wiping out the group led by her father. Roxy reveals that she is currently the head of the house and looks forward to working with Fate. As they are about to shake hands, Fate remembers that his telepathy will be activated, so he points towards a random person, Chief Mate Haru, who reminds him to conduct himself as a servant of the Hart family. A week goes by as Fate continues to work in the Hart estates. He talks with the other servants when his stomach starts to growl, shocking the others because they just ate lunch. Fate is called to meet Roxy, but his stomach continues to growl, and even Fate is confused by what is happening. Roxy tries to have a conversation with him, but he keeps thinking about why he's so hungry. Roxy snaps him out of it, and the two relate over their dead fathers, both killed by monsters. She considers him a member of the family, causing him to become flustered, but he suddenly loses consciousness. He wakes up in his room and sees a note from Roxy telling him to take the day off. Fate questions Greed about his hunger, and Greed reveals that it is due to gluttony. The more souls Fate consumes, the stronger he'll become, but at the same time, his desire will also grow stronger, and he is destined to seek out souls to consume until the day he dies. Greed tells Fate that when his hunger is at its limit, it will show in his eyes, and Fate realizes that his eyes are red. Fate goes outside and walks by a group of people, thinking they smell delicious. Greed explains that his hunger boost has kicked in because his hunger is at its limit. It's a temporary power that helps him hunt prey, and the prey can be tracked by scent, with weaker prey being paralyzed by fear. We see Fate and Greed go outside the kingdom and encounter several terrified goblins. Fate massacres all of them and heads towards the Hobgoblin Forest, where he continues to kill for several hours until his hunger is finally satisfied. However, a Goblin King appears out of nowhere, and Fate uses his Identify skill, revealing that they're almost equal in terms of stats, but the Goblin King has a health regeneration skill. Fate goes after the Goblin King and is disgusted to see it devour a human. He launches a surprise attack, slicing off its arm, and the fight continues, with Fate mostly dodging its attacks. Greed encourages him to attack, and Fate charges in, managing to overpower the Goblin Goblin King and land the finishing blow. As a result, Fate's stats increase significantly, and he gains the health regeneration skill. Greed reveals that with Fate's current stats, he can unlock Greed's first level in exchange for his stats. The first level will give Fate new functions, but he is shocked to learn that he needs to hand over all the stats he gained since they met. Greed explains that Fate will lose the right to wield him if he doesn't unlock him, so Fate agrees to do it. He begins the process, and Fate can feel his power leading his body as Greed transforms into a magic bow. He tells Fate that there is a goblin watching them, and he teaches Fate how to use the bow, which creates magic arrows when the string is pulled, telling him that he can aim wherever he wants, but the arrow will always hit its target. Fate takes the Goblin King's ears, and he leaves it at the orphanage door, as he believes that they need it more. The next day, Fate stops an intruder, but turns out it's Roxy dressed up as a peasant trying to secretly go to town for inspection. She brings Fate along with her, and on the way to town, she asks Fate to show her his sword, but he's afraid that she might figure something out after she sees it. The sword slips from his hand, and Roxy catches it, but fortunately doesn't notice anything. She tells Fate that the sword needs some maintenance, saying she will take him to the Hart family's blacksmith. They finally reach the town and are standing at a stall when everyone tenses up as a holy knight approaches. Faith's stomach growls at the worst possible time, angering the holy knight. The knight tries to step on him, but Roxy stops him, catching everyone's attention. Everyone is looking at Roxy, trying to figure out if the peasant girl is actually Miss Roxy. Greed tells Fate that if they act as a couple, no one will think that the peasant girl is actually Roxy. Roxy overhears this plan when Fate replies to Greed, thinking it's a good idea. So she goes along with it, and they start acting like a couple, convincing everyone that the girl is not Roxy while everyone is distracted. They both slip away and hide in the corner. Fate hears her thoughts as she thinks about how her heart is racing because this is the first time she has locked arms with a boy. Roxy decides that they need to keep moving, and they overhear people talking about all the dead goblins that were recently found. The rumors are that it was done by a wandering monster, but it doesn't explain why the goblin ears were donated to the orphanage in the slums. She asks Fate to take her where the warriors gather, saying she wants to investigate the wandering monster. Fate takes Roxy to the bar, where the bartender reveals that he has heard about a warrior who struck gold. When he found a mountain of goblin corpses with their ears still intact, Roxy believes that it must have been a monster from a different region. The bartender thinks this is bad for business because a lot of merchants travel through those goblin plains, so people won't travel due to the fear that a monster might attack them. An old man enters the bar and joins the conversation, telling them the monster is a lich, which is why the holy knights are directly dealing with him. A group of warriors enters the bar and tells Roxy to join them for fun. Roxy pushes the man lightly, but he is sent crashing to the other side of the room, and they realize that only a holy knight can have that much power. Roxy finally reveals her identity, and the warriors apologize, trying to give her all the money they have. But she rejects it, telling them not to fear the holy knights. She reveals that she dreams of a world where commoners and holy knights can laugh together. They go to the blacksmith, who finishes maintenance on Greed, so he now looks like a new sword. While going through town, Roxy explains that she didn't know about the hunt because it's being led by the Vlaric family, and they simply didn't tell her. We see Hato holding a child, explaining that he is simply taking a lost child into protection, but Fate takes the boy away, and Roxy tells them that they will take care of him. Roxy asks Raphael why she was not informed about the hunt, and he says that he didn't want to bother her as she must have been busy mourning her father. The Vlarics decide to leave while Fate and Roxy take the boy to find his mother, allowing him to reunite with her. After returning home, Fate asks Greed for a way to hunt monsters without Roxy finding out. The next day, Greed tells him to buy a mask with perception warping magic, which will make him look different to whoever sees him. We see that Raphael has gathered the knights in a dark room, and they discuss the excursion to Gallia. Sometime later, a group of warriors finds more dead goblins, and they look up to find a lich standing on a mountain of corpses. The terrified warriors call the corpse, and they run away as we see Fate enjoy the nickname given to him. The next day, Roxy goes up to Fate and tells him to go with her because she has a secret mission for him. They both get in a carriage and pass through the Hart family's vineyard to arrive at their destination, where Roxy's mother Aisha is standing at the door. Roxy introduces Fate as a servant she recently hired, and Aisha asks Fate if he likes Roxy, causing them to become flustered. But Aisha explains that she wants to know his opinion of Roxy as a boss, and Fate says that he would like to serve her until the end of his life. Roxy is is flustered, and she runs to her room where she looks at a picture of her father. We see Fate helping the other servants harvest the grapes, and they tell him how the lords have personally helped cultivate this land for generations. Everyone is proud that they can help the lords. A servant reveals that it's time for hunting as well, because monsters called kobold appear during the harvest season. Looking for food, Faith's stomach starts growling as Greed explains that gluttony requires various kinds of souls, and goblins alone won't satisfy his growing hunger. On his way home, Fate sees a mysterious girl with a massive axe. As she passes by, Fate is shocked to see she has the same eyes as him. He tries to check her stats, but it doesn't work. The girl checks him out and mentions she is too early. Fate wonders what she's talking about, but she just tells him that he can have the kobolds and declares that he now owes her, telling him that they will meet again. Roxy catches up, and she points out that the girl is a Gallian. We learn that Gallia was a great military power 4,000 years ago, but with the rise in monsters, their nation eventually collapsed, and most of their people were killed. So she is surprised to see a survivor. As the two head back, Fate wonders if Roxy will really be okay hunting the monsters on her own, but she assures him that the other warriors will be with her, and it's her duty as a holy knight. The next day, we see everyone hiding as they prepare to hunt the kobolds, but they're all shocked when a massive monster suddenly appears. Fate's mouth waters seeing it, but Greed knows this is a problem because Fate is almost in a starvation state, and Fate worries about Roxy seeing him. He checks the monster stats, and we see it at level 50 with insanely high stats. It's known as a crown beast, and Greed explains that it's a monster born from accumulated aggression. They return to the village, and everyone panics because they don't think that they stand a chance. But Roxy manages to calm them down, assuring them that she will slay it. She tells the warriors they will go back the next day. Greed notes that they don't stand a chance, and Fate refuses to let Roxy die, so he heads back by himself later that night. He sees there are kobolds around the crown beast, and Greed wonders what he plans to do. He starts attacking with his bow form, taking some of them out as he absorbs their stats with his gluttony. He tries shooting at the crowned beast, but it just blocks it using one of the soldiers. Fate gets closer with his sword, taking out even more of the kobolds. We see his stats significantly increased, and he thinks he can now take out the boss with his bow, but the beast is able to catch his arrow. He prepares to fight it with his sword, but the beast suddenly uses a skill that blasts him with a shockwave. Fate is knocked out, and a kobold comes to finish him off. However, it suddenly gets cut, and we see Fate was just pretending to be unconscious. Fate takes out another kobold, absorbing its stats, and Greed notes that he should be able to use his first level hidden art. It will cost 10% of his current stats, but it should allow him to defeat the boss. Fate accepts the conditions, and his bow gets an upgrade. He fires a powerful shot at the beast. Rejuvenated by the upgraded bow, Fate wipes out the crown beast in a single hit, though he thinks it might have been overkill. His gluttony skill is activated, causing him tremendous pain. Greed explains that it's because it's the first time he has devoured a soul of higher quality. Greed tells him he must bear the pain no matter what, or else he will lose control, and it will be even worse than his starvation state. Fate tries to hold it in, but the pain is unbearable, and he screams in agony. That's where this video ends. If you want more parts, let me know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Peace out.